Well, the White House and Harry Reid saying they like the Gang of Six approach. My next guest says if those guys like it, you should be worried about it. Republican strategist Margaret Hoover is author of American Individualism. All right, Margaret, that's an awfully cynical view of our two-party political system, isn't it?
It's not cynical at all. What I would argue, anytime President Obama is saying, this is a deal, we've got a deal, you got to be wary. There's tax cuts that are going on in this, and it looks like you look a little closer, and it looks like actually there will be tax hikes in this deal. It also looks like they're going to outsource all the devil's in the details, and it looks like they're going to outsource a lot of the devil in the details because we don't have time to cover it now to these Senate committees that are chaired by Democratic senators. So you've got to be a little careful. I would say, though, to the House Republicans, purism isn't going to win the day, and favorability is tacking against Republicans right now. We don't have the bully pulpit of the presidency. So we do have to be tactical. That is the key right now. What I would say is let's use this as a starting point. Pass a short-term debt limit quickly, and then send to the Senate a counter-proposal and make this the starting point for new negotiations. But what I would say is if we don't start now tactically, we're going to end up with Reid McConnell, and that's worse.
Well, I mean, you know, yesterday, one of our producers in D.C. said a GOP aide had a passing conversation with him, and in part of that conversation, what was said was, well, if the president likes this, it can't be good. Don't you think there's a little too much of that going on right now in D.C.? If one party likes it, or if the president likes it, I automatically can't like it. There must be something about it that means it's bad for us.
Well, on the one hand, yes, I agree with that attitude, and there's a lot I've written in my book about millennials who are a pragmatic generation, not a partisan generation, and I understand that turns them off. But I also just came from Washington this morning, was listening to folks talk about this, and the devil is in the details. And we hadn't seen any details yet. We were wary about tax hikes, and it turns out there are tax hikes in it. So, you know, it cuts both ways.
All right, now you talk about in your book winning back 2012. That date is
for the millennials, the 30 and under generation.
Well, okay, 30 and under generation, that they need to come out and vote. I mean, that's
they voted. They were 18% of the electorate last time.
So that last time they finally came out and voted big time.
They voted in 2004
as
well, and they voted in 2004 before. And by the way, Ronald Reagan won them by 20 points.
Most of these people are centrists. I mean, let's be honest. Most of them are centrists because they're socially liberal, but they might be fiscally conservative. So how do you win that group when you're talking about extremes, extreme left and extreme right? These centrists aren't extreme anything. They're much more passive, aren't they?
I wouldn't call them centrist. I would call them politically pragmatic. You're right. They are not ideological, and that's why this debate and this moment in our history, Republicans have an incredible opportunity to win them by catering to this debate. This debate is about generational theft. This couldn't be more about the next generation. You couldn't have asked for a better playbook if you're a Republican.
But don't blow it by standing on extreme principles.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
Right.
That's why these Republicans in the House of Representatives have got to understand that if they stick to purism and they say we can default on their debt, not only are we going to lose favor as Republicans, it's not true. Right? We simply can't run a government by defaulting on our debt. And by the way, most of those freshmen voted for the Ryan plan in March, and the Ryan plan required raising the debt ceiling, not naked debt ceiling. It required spending caps and cuts. So I'm with you. I'm for pragmatic solutions, but I think we have an opportunity to cater to the next generation right now and make a real difference as a Republican Party.
Well, we will see. A little bit more than a year left to go before fall of 2012. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Margaret.